Hello everyone, it's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for another State of the Game, my weekly vlog where I talk about my uh, concerns, my opinions, my excitement for Star Citizen and some other games. Yes, I said other games because my life revolves around lots of these games. Well, here you see Sandy Gardner coming out during the PAX Australia demo that they did. In the beginning, it was kind of cute. She came out, she was a pirate. She asked everybody, hey, how many of y'all want to be a pirate? And there wasn't a big outcry. Now, I don't know why you expect Aussies to be pirates. I mean, they've shaken that we are a penal colony for England syndrome or idea a long, long time ago. But I know there's going to be a ton of pirates from everywhere. Well, she got herself into trouble. And out comes Erin Roberts and some other people in an awkwardly acted scene of where she's apprehended by, well, none other than Erin and Chris. And then Chris starts to do the show, so you could watch that in the background. So this demo actually did rekindle my excitement for the game, but for a different reason. It actually happened a little bit before this demo going off. It happened when version 0.9.2 of Arena Commander came out. Now, first off, my last video, you could tell I absolutely loved the Gladys. I didn't think I was going to. I thought it was going to be one of those ships that got into my hangar and very quickly found its way out of my hangar. Now, the flight model might suck and it might not do very well in the game, but I don't think that is at all possible because that ship was built by Aaron and his crew in Foundry 42 for what I'm really waiting for, which is Squadron 42. And this is one of the big things that I've been waiting for. And the detail level of this ship and the design and every piece of it make me excited for the first part of the Star Citizen games. I knew Aaron was going to be a big addition to the team last year when they announced it in 2013 at CitizenCon, and I'm glad to see that I was not wrong. In fact, I was so not wrong, I know that he is single-handedly, no, that's not true. The team itself is amazing. They are going to produce a wonderful single-player game. Well, my confidence in the game was greatly enhanced when they released version 9.2 of Arena Commander this past weekend. And it did so many things to change how I felt about the game. The biggest thing was, I absolutely hated the implementation of the control method that they used for HOTAS. It made playing the game very, very, very hard and not fun, to the point where I just wouldn't play the game at all anymore because it would be too difficult to compete with anybody that was using mouse and keyboard. And I refused to play a game like this with mouse and keyboard. War Thunder is a different story. It's a more arcade game. But here, I want to feel like I'm in the Starfighter. I want to feel like I'm flying it. And some people will say, you don't think they're going to use mouse and keyboard over in the future? No, you're not, because when you're going and pulling 9 and 10 Gs, that's not actually going to be an easy control method. Anyhow, maybe it would be. I don't know. I don't have any problem with people using different control methods. I just wanted to use mine. One of the biggest problems I had was actually the fine movements that you would be able to make. I can't believe that a ship that's using all these different technologies to be able to fly more lifelike in space is going to jerk around the way it did. And you'll see it doesn't do that anymore. The second piece was the bore sight, the gun sight that they were using was more reminiscent of a fighter, like something like a Mustang or maybe an F-86 from World War II in the Korean War, where you had to fire at a point ahead of the target, which, if you didn't have a gun sight, you would have to do. But come on, I mean, outside of the Mantis cannon, which are ballistic, there is no ballistic trajectory in space. There's no gravity. So how is it ballistic, right? Well, it is, because they have to travel a certain distance to get there. And also, lasers, aren't they traveling at the speed of light? Why do they need to actually be able to be fired in front of a ship? Well, because these aren't lasers, they're energy bolts being fired that do have a speed. Alright, so I got those two things down. So why am I firing ahead of a target when in an F-15, F-16, Eurofighter, and any aircraft with a gun today. They have a targeting system that predicts where the bullets are going to land, and that's what you try to do. You try to get that little round circle with the dot in the middle on the target. Well, they did that here. If you look, you got the two different pieces over there. That's what happens when you have two different guns, and you try to get those two pieces right on the other ship, and that's where your bullets are going to land. So it's more like a modern fighter today. These two things have made it very, very, very much more fun, very fun for me in the game again. So I am playing Arena Commander yet again. So I'm going to put out a call. Who was the person that sent me the voice attack profile? Can you please contact me and let's set up a Skype so I can get that working? I would love to do my next video with voice attack running at the same time. Or maybe I'll just talk to Dr. Hawk since he's so good at that. Well, they released a lot of information about the first-person shooter module, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But they also released two fighters. Well, not a fighter. They released the Redeemer, which is a very heavy yet maneuverable ship that's instrumental in the first-person shooter module. While many of us aren't as excited for the FPS module as some are, I'm excited with the aspect of them having ships that are dedicated to bringing troops into a derelict station, troops on the ground, and I can't wait to see how that part is implemented. Wow, I'm just realizing that it looks like they just did a copy and paste on certain things when they increased the size of this arena. It looks like there's more planetary terraforming lasers up there. Well, that's my ADD-ness getting off on topic. I was excited about the Redeemer because it was a ship produced by somebody in the community, by a group in the community. And while it wasn't the best ship in the contest for some people, it's still a ship that was in the contest and was mostly designed by somebody that was a backer. Now, I did like other ships better. I liked the interior in the Redeemer because it was more complete, but I was a big Three Dingo fan. I loved their ship. I thought it was looking gorgeous and was something that would fit more in the universe. But after going through the Redeemer and looking at the outside and seeing it in the FPS demo, it actually looked amazing, and I think it was a good choice. It doesn't have to be the best choice. Hopefully they add some of the other, or allow some of the other designs into the game at some point. But I'm not sure we have that much room for drop ships in the game at this point. We'll have to see how that works in the future. Now, it is absolutely no shock to anyone to know how much of an Aegis Dynamics fan I am. I'm sitting here with my big Goliath Aegis Dynamics mousepad below my keyboard, trackpad, and mouse in front of my iMac. And in my hangar, I have at least 4 Aegis Dynamics ships at this point. I have the Redeemer, the Retaliator, which is not in the hangar, I know. I have this beautiful Gladys, and then I have the Avenger, which I can't wait to see the end of, the release of. I love their ships because I think they look a lot like General Dynamics, which I think is what they were trying to do. But I love that ship in front of us, and I love the design. And what I'm talking about here is what I said before. The guys over at Foundry 42 have done an amazing job with this ship, and it has brought me back into a excitement over the different ships that are out there. Now, some people complain about prices on ships, and all I can tell you is that what everybody else says. This is a game that you're pledging for. You are helping to build the game. You are not buying the ship. The ship is kind of sort of like a gift, a virtual gift for saying thank you for pledging money to help us build the game. You don't have to buy the ships now. You could always buy them in game. And then we could look at them and say, you know what, that's not worth the time investment for me to purchase, and we'll never know. But although I was critical about the aerodynamics of the ship in front of us, I absolutely 100% love it. And I think that this is showing us the type of work coming out of Foundry 42. And for that reason, I'm building a lot of excitement over being able to get into Foundry 42's part of the module, Squadron 42, when it's released later next year. Well, here we are at the meat and potatoes of why CIG went to PAX Australia, to demo the FPS module. Now, I think it looks pretty good. And I like it because I'm a different type of FPS person. I don't really like where Call of Duty and Black Ops and Battlefield and other games like those have taken the FPS shooter. They've taken it into a, you get shot, you respawn, you run back out again. Well, while there are some amazing players in today's FPS shooter world, there are a great number of people that suck, like myself, because you just keep running into fire. The difference is I learn, but I don't like that style of play. I remember playing Rainbow Six and being almost done with my squad, and then being sniped and dying, and how that felt, the shock of being hit and falling to the ground was just, it was an amazing thing. And that relief that you have when you complete a mission with nobody dying was also amazing. And in the FPS combat, originally, it was squad versus squad, and even when you played to the last man, it was you get shot, you die, and you'd get 10, 15, 20, 30-minute long rounds at times. And every single minute of them, you were sitting on the edge of your seat, white-knuckled on the mouse and the keyboard, and sweating because you knew that if you got shot, you were dead, and clearing every corner, taking cover when you need to, instead of just shooting from the hip. And this game kind of reminds me of where Rainbow Six was going. Now, some people were critical of it. This isn't even pre-alpha. This is like concept. So if you're going to rate the FPS module on this, I don't think it's at all fair. The game is starting to come along, and I know I've been critical in the past, so I'm going to make this a happy week. I'm excited because Aaron's team has shown that they could build a spectacular spacecraft, and that's just based on looks. I don't know how it's going to fly, but man, does that Gladys look beautiful. And the FPS team at Ilphonic, I guess is who they are, redacted, Ilphonic, has done an amazing job bringing us the concept of the FPS shooter, the FPS module. And I'm excited to see this. The zero-G gravity part of it was clearly the most unfinished piece of it. If you're going to fire a ballistic weapon in space, you're going to have a kickback that's going to send you flying. Newton's law, right? every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Unless, well, I don't know. I think that if you're firing a bullet out the nose, you're going to have something behind it. Now, people said there's a difference between zero-G inside of a space station and zero-G outside. Well, really, zero-G is zero-G. There will be atmosphere, which will slow the bullet down and eventually cause it to be slower than it was when it was fired. But in space, when you fire that bullet, it will keep going, and so will you in an opposite direction. So there will be spacesuits that you wear in zero-G that will be able to counter the effect of ballistic weapons when you're firing them. But there will also be a great number of laser rifles and pulse rifles that you'll use in the game. I'm excited to see this piece of it because it's part of the game and it's an integral part of the game, and it's something that we're going to be doing in Squadron 42. But I was more happy to see the finished 2 ships that they gave us. I won't talk about the Herald right now. That's something that we'll do in another show. This is not going to be a World of Tanks piece. This is the Fury. And the reason why I'm showing it off here is I just saw Fury yesterday. I took my boys to go see it. And it has left me as emotionally upset as seeing Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers did. It's another one of those, this is what war really is. And I think it's movies like that that kids need to see, not these games that we play. But what it also did is it showed a purpose, right? Everybody there had a purpose, had a reason why they were fighting this war. Even the Germans that were beaten and were starting to put their women and children and older people elderly into the war had a purpose. They were trying to stop the invaders from taking over their country. What's the purpose in the Vanduul? What's the purpose in Star Citizen? Why are we fighting? And that's something I hope that we see at some point. What's the brutality that the Vanduul have actually brought upon our people, brought upon the United Earth Empire? I know it exists. I know it's there. But right now it's in words. And the only interaction that we've had with the Vanduul don't give me that same sense that these people on these tank crews in World War II had about having to survive. They more or less give me, it was a joke, right? The girl in the cutlass was able to quickly outwit a Vanduul. If that was the case, why are we fighting a war for a century with this other race? And I'd love for them to start bringing that stuff to us, to start showing us why. If you haven't seen Fury, you need to go see it. Brad Pitt was amazing, as much as Shiloh and everybody else was in that movie. And it's amazing that, it starts off with one of their tank crew being dead and the introduction of a new member to the tank crew and how that affects all of them. And that's all I'm going to talk about Fury. Go see it. Now we move into my closing, and what I'm going to talk about is the things that I'm going to be most excited about over the next couple of months. There's more ships coming. They're going to put the Carrack up for a concept ship sale, and I think it's something that I'm probably going to pass on because I'm making a change in the way I purchase ships. I'm most likely just going to purchase the ships that are in the hangar from now on. The reason being is that having ships that perform a function that's over a year and a half away doesn't seem like a good place to spend my personal money. I'm not being critical of anybody else in the way they spend their money. I think it's wonderful that there's so many people backing the game at this point, even though they're not going to be able to use most of the things they're buying for some time. If a ship is in the hangar, at least I could walk around it. I can see the changes that they make to it over time and possibly fly it if it gets itself into the game like the 325A just did. And of course I melted that because I think the Gladys is going to fulfill a need for me until I decide to get the 325A for a fifth time. Yes, I'm changing my ways, and that's why I didn't buy the Herald and why I purchased the Redeemer instead. I think the Herald is something that I will probably wind up with, but only when the game goes live, because the whole information running does interest me. And it's how information moves around the galaxy. It's not how bad information, how information that is from the unlawful people move through the universe. It's how information itself moves from point A to point B in the Star Citizen universe. So I can't wait to see how that's implemented and what kind of missions they start letting you fly for that. And now excitement is building as 1.0 nears, and the release of some other ships that we've all been waiting for start to come into play. The release of the Retaliator into the hangar, which a lot of people are going to want to walk around and see and take pictures of and do videos of, like myself, because the thing is just gorgeous. Like I said, I'm a Aegis Dynamics loving person. And then, of course, the Mustang. The Mustang will be out very soon, and you'll be able to start racing in it and replacing Auroras and getting into Arena Commander and hopefully being able to compete. There's also a better matchmaking system coming, a lobby system, drop 2.0 of the organizations. All that was promised before the end of the year. I can't wait to see it. Oh, by the way, version 1.0 relies on the second drop of the organization system. So you're not going to have one without the other unless they change something. Well, look how gorgeous this is. Chris said you could actually blow some of these asteroids up, and I have tried it, and there's like 1 in 10 that you could actually blow up. They got to be really small. I said I was going to do a little bit of a piece on Elite Dangerous. Now, I'm not going to put any video in here right now. I told some people I was going to do a video on Elite Dangerous, and that is coming. The issue is I have a broken game, I think. I'm not sure. I've paid all my fines. Every time I take a mission, they're legal missions, they're not illegal missions. I leave the space dock, and immediately the mission goes away and says, I stole whatever they gave me, and it puts a fine on me. I'm not sure why. I'm probably stupid. I'm trying to figure that out. Once I do, I'm going to get a nice video up and start talking about Elite Dangerous. That will be in a separate playlist, of course. So I'm very excited about all the changes that are coming our way in Star Citizen. It's happy to be playing the game again and actually mattering when you're in a Vanduul Swarm co-op. It makes a lot of sense, and it's a lot more fun than just racing all the time. I guess that's my vlog this week, but I do have one last thing to talk about. Here is the next prize for my contest, and my contest is going to be limited to patrons who have supported the show over at patreon.com/Batgirl. Patreon is a website that allows you to show support for the sites and the content that you like to see on the web each week, whether it be my show, another show, a webcomic, or somebody that sings or creates music. That's all up to you. My patreon.com page is patreon.com/Batgirl. You can show your support with as little as $1 a month or $1 per show. I only include the Star Citizen AA episodes each week, which means that the maximum you'd be in for is $4 a month, unless it is a 5-week month like last month. That's all I got for you. Thank you all for watching, listening, and commenting on the shows. I really appreciate it. I'm starting to collect a lot of those questions, and I'll start answering them soon. And please forgive me for my lack of answering comments the last couple weeks. I've been in the weeds with things at work, home, and of course, my personal life. Thank you all. You all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.